You wanted me back. I'm back.
Audio Jungle.
What is going on out there, peeps? Oh, yeah, you wanted him back. It's back. He, she, they, them, whatever their preferred pronouns are. Q. I made a video announcing the return of Q. I kind of had a feeling the responses people would have, it's pretty much like mine. It's like, I could take it or leave it. I was all hyped up the first time, but kind of felt like an unsatisfied lover by the time it was all said and done. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back and respond to the questions and comments posted on the original video I did announcing the return of Q to see what you think about this return. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel and I surely do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, check out our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of chatter about the return. As a matter of fact, I didn't find very much of it at all. Now, there are some people talking about it, don't get me wrong, but I think people are about queued out. There are still a lot of followers and a lot of believers. I said this before and I'll say it a million other times. I question everything. I was a supporter of the movement, but let me just clarify that one more time. Of the movement. Until all these kookies got involved and started acting like they were Q, or they knew Q, or they hung around Q, or they had a barbecue. It was ridiculous, and they continue to do these videos, and then somehow, some way, the 17th letter movement merged with Nasera Jacera, and that became a disaster. All these other hokey stories out there that we're hearing now, you got all these hokey people that are out there now. It was just crazy, and it took it to a whole other level of just... Anyways, let's get into the comments and see what others are saying. You're not forced to believe it or disbelieve it. Just take it as a source of potential information. Not super familiar with it, but I think they say to research for yourself. There were a couple of things about this movement that I thought was pretty good. Even if we find out that somehow this thing was a fraud, there were some good things that came out of it. One, the fact that people really got into researching because the 17th letter movement encouraged that. So that's the one thing that I did like. You could tell people who were followers of Q normally went hand to hand as a Trump supporter. So whenever there was debates, you can tell which ones were 17th letter followers and Trump supporters, because generally speaking, they were the ones that were most researched. They knew their butt from a hole in the ground. Whenever I saw chats that turned into debates, it was easy to determine who they were. The other thing was, I did appreciate the fact that Q did bring a lot of people back to God, back to faith, back to church in a big way. So that was the other thing that I loved a lot about the movement. I didn't have too much of an opinion one way or another. It just felt like, a bride being left at the altar. I was expecting a whole lot more, and then all of a sudden the person just disappeared. So yes, I agree. It says you're not forced to believe it or disbelieve it. Just take it as a source of potential information, and that's the right way to approach this. Robert says, here we go again. He would tell us it's all part of the plan. Yeah, Robert, your response is very similar to a lot of other people I chatted with. They're like, are you serious? Here we go again. I mean, I think a lot of people are interested to see what's going to happen, what's going to be said, if there's going to be any kind of explanation of what the hell happened. Where they been, what's going on, where we at, has there been any type of progress made in whatever the hell this thing is? Because there were all kinds of things that people were sharing that they said was promised, but the truth of the matter is You were just told to do the research, and I don't know too much that there was any promises of any actions being taken. I think that just kind of was an interpretation of what people were reading. I might be wrong. Again, there are other people out there that were so obsessed with it, they would know. But definitely, there is a part of me going, oh God, not again. I hope this doesn't start a whole new wave of wackadoodles that are out there. We already got a group of them as it is. Jim Watkins came out and said he didn't have the computer with him while in California, but the login was the official login from before. Yeah, I think somebody had already found out that the credentials or whatever it is, they have a way to verify if it's the real person, indeed is the real person. I think a lot of people were anticipating this country would have already been turned over into good hands. The people that were talked about would have already been dealt with. But here we are in the opposite direction. The country's in the hands of bad people, although I do believe people are fed up with what's going on, and you're starting to see a huge change happen. So hopefully that will continue. But all the things that I heard about, all the things that people were saying, didn't seem like very much of that happened, if at all. So I'm curious to see what is going to come out of the post. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is all the wackadoodles. Patricia says, thank you for addressing this. You are very welcome. Lynn says, there's only one that I trust, and that is the Lord Jesus Christ. Yeah, and that's exactly who people should be putting their faith in the first place. I support that 100%. Julie says, 1,700 days to be exact. The post was directly to the board where they left off. Should be interesting to say the least. That's not surprising to me that it would be something like 1,700 days. I'd be lying to you if I said that I'm not interested in any of it. That's not true. I am interested in to see what the posts say and what type of explanations are going to be posted, as well as where things stand, if they got a clue at all. But when I first was aware of the 17th letter movement, as time went on, it did remind me a lot of another movement that happened that was very similar, and that just made me even more cautious about following it, which was Operation Trust. Sherry says, one good thing about Q brought many to our Father in Jesus Christ. Yeah, Sherry, I agree with that 1,000,000,000%. I noticed that. That's the one thing I noticed in a lot of posts. I'd go to different web pages, different blogs, different posts on Facebook, and you would see many people talk about they haven't been to church for like 10, 15 years and went back, or they've never been to church, or they never prayed before, but now all of a sudden they're praying. I thought that was the best thing that came out of the whole movement. Ann says, hadn't heard that it's back. I stepped away from any internet stuff. I'm reading a book, Medical Medium. We also started buying organic celery and juicing since June 22, 22. So, Ann, I hear you. I started to do the juicing myself, and then, as usual, something always distracts me, and I fall off the schedule. I definitely need to get back on it. There's no doubt about it. Not at home says, Q and the flu must have taken holidays together. Both disappeared for 2 years while Rona was in town. It does appear that way. Sign up. And actually, Q was gone for 17 months, post 18 months. There's that number again. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people picked up on that. Mike says 1,700 days from the last post to this one, on the same day as Roe v. Wade decision. Pony Girl says, but we woke up and researched for ourselves. Even before the whole 17th letter movement stopped, people had already conditioned themselves to start doing their own research, and you start getting really good at discernment and deciding what websites are full of you know what and which ones are legit. I was very happy about the fact that a lot of people did pick up the habit of doing their own research and not just taking things at face value. Callie George goes, here goes the movie, popcorn, enjoy the show, BS. And everybody knows how I feel about that. Julie says, but Pimpy, you know I loves you. Yeah, I love you right back. Patty says, wouldn't it be nice to get arrest of Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, and that group of multi-level marketers and all their belongings taken? Yeah, Patty, I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel that way. I hear you. That's the group I was talking about. I don't want another group of wackadoodles that came out of that. I love how everybody automatically associates me with Charlie Ward. Me and Charlie did a couple of interviews together. We had a couple of mutual friends, but somehow because we did an interview together, we are linked together forever. People are like, "Isn't that your group?" No, I wasn't in no group. A lot of those people wanted to do interviews, and I had no problems with it. KC says that Q said they would go away for a time, but would return. I guess they're back. Doug says, I'll let you know what I think in 17 days, 17 hours, 17 minutes, and 17 seconds. That is classic. K-Shine. The trip code confirms Q. So is that what it's called? The trip code? Yeah, whatever it was validated. So they're back. Chris says, keep your sanity. Yeah, people, please keep your sanity. I think it's going to be funny how so many people felt like a scorned lover who will easily just go right back into that relationship just because these people reappeared. We'll see how easy people start going down that path. I do think there's a lot of resentment, but it's going to be interesting to see how quickly everybody jumps back on that bandwagon. Noel says, nobody owes you an explanation. Nobody owes me an explanation? Nah, nobody does. But we all sure the hell want one. Jason says, slinging it, Pimpy, yo. Oh, yeah. Brenda says he don't get it and never has. I'm not sure who he is. My guess is you're talking about me. Yeah, okay. I know. You guys got it way better than I ever did. Got it. Vonda says, look up the Lost Book of the Gospel of Q. Actually, I'm aware of it and did a video on it. Linda says, guess what? RONA is the name of some people if you stop using it. I'm not sure what you're saying here. Paul, and another 2Q post. Ro, who is she? So there are Q posts that are happening. Okay, interesting. NW here says Assange extradition. Yeah, it is kind of weird that that whole situation is taking place about the same time that the 17th letter has reappeared. I'm not saying that they're one and the same, but it is pretty interesting. God Sent Me says, where we go one, we go all, over there in Tennessee. I love Tennessee, very beautiful place. I've been there a couple times. Al says, and so the theatrical nonsense continues for your viewing pleasure. Just when I ran out of popcorn for these Jesuits. Time to whip up a new batch. Detroit says 6/24/22. The Mickey Mouse hands at 10 and 10 on day 1700. Yeah, I remember a lot of posts. People kept talking about how watches were set a certain way and that they somehow met something. And then you run over to this. It's like a diagram that people had received and it somehow decoded messages. I tried to get into that deep, but no, couldn't. I was like, I don't have the time for that. Too many other things going on. And what I would do is just, there was a handful of people I would listen to, give their interpretation, and I would take it with a grain of salt. But, you know, I trusted what it was that they were saying more than a lot of other people, but very interesting. Pat says, look up timestamp. Pat, I think that's just what Detroit was talking about. The Rebel Preacher, and people will follow it. What a joke. They will, and I'll be honest, I'm going to be one of them, but not follow as a follower, like a cult person, but follow as in I'll be interested to hear what is the latest and the greatest in the post to see what this 17th letter movement has to say. AJ says, Pimpy, you were an avid follower of the movement too. You were part of the crazy Charlie Ward community. There you guys go, I swear, man. Seems hypocritical to be acting all innocent. What's up with that? Well, I'm not sure what I need to be acting innocent over. So you said I was an avid follower of the movement too. I wouldn't say I was avid. I absolutely positively was a supporter of the possibilities. I was a supporter in the sense that I really liked what they had to say and I was hoping it would come true. It just didn't happen that way. So yeah, I was a supporter. There's no doubt about it. And you were part of the crazy Charlie Ward community. I was never part of the Charlie Ward community. I did interviews with these people, man. Good Lord. As far as acting innocent, I don't know what I need to be acting innocent of. See, here's the whole thing with this Charlie Ward community or anybody else associated with it that I've done interviews with. When it first starts out, you realize there's a lot of people in the same arena talking about the same subjects. And you check out a couple of the videos and you're like, hey, they're saying some cool things. Next thing you know, you're doing interviews, everything is going peaches and cream. Then as time goes on, you start to see new videos and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? A lot of these people claim to be associated somehow either with Trump or Q, and that these people worked with or talked to both Trump and Q. When they started going down that wackadoodle path, I was like, no, I would not go down that path. We talked about a lot of the same subjects, but if you're not paying attention, then you might have missed the fact that we didn't talk about it the same way. As a matter of fact, my approach to Nasera Jacera or the 17th letter movement was to try to debunk it first and foremost. And if I couldn't debunk it, at least then try to prove it. So there were a lot of things that I agreed with. I just didn't agree with their approach on everything. Rubber Duck says, oh, good hell. Andrew, does Q stand for quack? Do you believe his stuff, Pimpy? It's not a matter of believing. So I'll say this, Andrew. Here's the thing. When Q first came out, like I said, I was very interested. I listened to what was being said. I was a supporter, hoping that a lot of these things would come true and that something's going to be done with all these corrupt people. That's what you're hoping. But as time went on, it kept seeming like it was dragging on and on. You're look at all these sealed indictments. Okay, what does it mean? You were told about all sealed indictments, but what did you learn? What did we learn at all? Everybody went on the assumption that they were politicians and people in entertainment who were all being indicted. Nope, that's not the case. So it's like, okay, where did we leave off? What was accomplished? That's what I would like to know. There are some people out there who are obsessed with Q. If that's the case, I would love to know what exactly was accomplished at all from that movement, other than a couple of things I spoke about. One, the fact that people got great at researching, and two, the more important thing is that it turned a lot of people back to God. Other than that, not a whole lot of anything else. Andrew, you got to remember, I'm the one that did a video and said, hey, man, people should be careful. That this reminds me a lot of Operation Trust, and all hell broke loose. And now it was a black hat, a shield, the whole 9 yards. Ethan says, knowing nothing about Q as usual. That's all right, Ethan. There's a bunch of information out there. Just go ahead and do your research, and you'll learn a bunch. So, are people ready to go down this path all over again? Seriously, I've chatted many times with people who were avid followers. It united people. It created a movement. It created one of the biggest movements I've ever seen in my lifetime. People unified around one another, very patriotic. But what it also gave me the feeling was that a lot of people were united in this movement, but looking for a leader. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. But what I mean by leader is a leader of this movement to make these things happen that we've all been anticipating. Does that make sense? In other words, sure, everybody was saying that Trump was the big dog. I get that. That makes sense. But what I mean by leader is who is the person that's supposed to lead this movement to make these things, these indictments, and these people pay for all their crimes? Who's leading that? Nothing was accomplished. First it was, oh yeah, Bill Barr, yeah, and everybody got behind him. Then you found out that Flintstone is a traitor. Then it's Christopher Wray. Oh yeah, hero. Then he's a traitor. John Durham. Oh yeah, nothing was accomplished. Sure, he's doing all these investigations, but I'm not so sure that he's not doing more cleanup. I really think that Robert Mueller was there with his group of people cleaning up as much as possible, more than he was investigating Trump. Then Bill Barr came and he did the same thing. It's funny how Q never warns you that these people are not the heroes. If Q had that much information, how come he, she, or they were not aware that these people weren't the heroes that a lot of us thought? Then we found out that Lynn Wood decided to attack his fellow patriots and leaked all kinds of information that's just shattering. We found out that General Flynn, one of these people who are followers and supporters of the 17th letter movement, in a recording say that he thought it was a CIA operation. Well, if they're the clowns and they are the enemies, then why the hell would this man continue to support the movement and steer people in that direction and even take the oath in a video? If that's the way he really felt, knowing what he knows about the intelligence community, why wouldn't he tell people, hey, be careful? If he really believed it was a CIA operation. It's funny how when I have talked to people who are big supporters of the Q movement, they always go, no, man, that's part of the plan. Yeah, I know. Everything is part of the plan. Okay, well, it seemed like there was a plan out there. What was accomplished? What did everybody achieve? What do we get? Everybody was rah-rah about 2020, and then look what happened. And for the record, when everybody brought up the prophet guy, Kim Clement, where Kim Clement said that Trump would do 2 terms, I'm the one guy that said he didn't say 2 consecutive terms. But you have to admit, it was disappointing what happened. Everybody felt let down. I know. I've seen everybody's emotions and rage. So it is going to be interesting to hear what this person has to say, what has been accomplished, where things are, where things stand. And as I said before, I would love for somebody in the comments to post what exactly was accomplished at all by the movement outside of the obvious. The unifying of the people becoming better at researching, and the most important thing, all the people that were brought to God because of this movement. What about anything else that was accomplished? Anything at all? I'm curious to hear what you have to say. Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. Let me know what you think. I want to hear from you big Q fans. I look forward to your answers. Anyways, that's it for now. I will catch you later. I am out.